Should we close this door too? You want to close the doors? Close that. You mind closing that? Thanks. Hey guys, how many of you guys been to this class before? I know he has. Nobody? All right, cool. Well, I'm going to try and be as interactive as possible. I want participation. I'm here to teach. I'm also here to learn. I like to try and learn something every time I teach one of these classes, and that's I don't want to stand up here like some know-it-all. That's not how I roll. So my name is Dustin Hollandrake. I am I'm an agent here at my home group. I'm also the CEO and founder of Open House Helpers. We are a company that's been in business 5 years now, and we've set up close to 10,000 mega open houses around the valley. We're the guys who are out setting up 50 or 100 or 25 or whatever bright yellow signs for you for your open house, so that you're not standing there sweating to death and dying as soon as people walk in. Quick show of hands, who loves holding open houses in here? Just loves it. You love it. You love it.
I love
it.
I just don't like setting up signs.
I don't like that.
Literally.
That's why you hired Dustin.
That's why you hire me, buddy.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why we exist, is because there's nothing worse than setting up open house signs. But this isn't going to be like a big sales presentation. I'm not going to try and sell you guys on open houses. Of course, I'll talk about it if you want to talk about it. We will bring up sign placement if you want to talk about that. This class is really in your hands. I can go a million directions. I can talk on this subject for 10 hours without taking a breath of air. I don't want to do that. I don't know how long I really even have. So I'm going to jump through as much of this as I can. But if there's something you really want to talk about today, let's talk about it. Also, the real objective of this class is, well, there's a few objectives, I guess. Number one is, I personally believe that the reason that most real estate agents have a hard time in this business is because we're chasing everything, chasing every type of business, chasing every shiny squirrel. You've heard it a million times. And does anyone here fall for that? Like, does anyone here have like 9 different things they're trying to do to get business, and then they're half-assing every one of those things? Because I can tell you, even now, I still fall into that category quite often. Something new comes along, you're like, oh wow, that seems really exciting. That could change my business, and you start going that way, and then you start going this way. And I believe that if you were to just focus on one singular thing, and that is what we're going to talk about, obviously, open houses. If you were just focused solely on open houses and nothing else, I think you can build a hell of a business, because you'd be able to simplify and intensify what you're doing. I've known agents who have done this. Does anyone here know Nate Brill? He's a Realty One Group agent in the West Valley. His second year in the business, he did $15.6 million in production from open houses, because that's all he did.
Wow. 2
or 3 a week. He busted his ass. He followed up on those leads really hard. He perfected his process. I think he did like 150 open houses that year, and he made almost $500,000. Something to wrap your head around. He did nothing else. Now he does lots of things because he's got like injuries and he can't even like stand right now. So he's changed his model a lot, and his believe it or not, his business has dropped. But I want to teach that basically. Let's talk about simplifying and intensifying your life. Also, I want to focus the class, like most open house classes you go to, guys, they're going to spend the whole time talking about how to get people to show up. Here's a thought that I want to talk about. Let's say you had a whole bunch of people show up and you converted 0 of them into buyers or sellers, or you didn't sell the house or whatever. Is that a productive open house? I don't think so. I personally don't want to attract 20, 30, 40, 50 groups of people through an open house, because that's hard to manage and it's hard to connect with people. If you are bringing in tons and tons of people and converting nobody, then your business would look healthier if you were just to take out a friend to lunch every week and ask them for referrals and connect with that person that you already know. That's just the way it is. Open houses are effective if you handle them, if you convert them into business. Now, the number one question I always ask when I teach this class, and I haven't taught this class in a while, so I might be a little rusty, so if I screw up, I apologize, but you'll get over it. What is the reason we hold open houses? What's the reason for holding an open house? Like, what is your number one goal when you hold an open house?
Meet and represent them.
Meet buyers and sellers. That's what I hear 90% of the time. That's not your goal when you're doing an open house. That's
sell your listing if it's yours.
Sell the listing, whether it's your listing or not. Mm-hmm. Your goal at an open house is to sell the home you're standing in. Okay, I'm going to tell you a quick little story about why. and how learning that thing changed my business. Okay, so I've been doing these mega open houses for a long time because I came into the industry with no sphere of influence. You know, I grew up a hooligan. I had no good friends. You know, I came out of construction into real estate, and everyone was raging alcoholics or druggies or whatever. When I got my license and went to my broker and said, okay, now what do I do? How do I get business? And they said, go to the people you know and start building a database. And I looked at the people I knew and I thought, shit, I'm screwed, man, because I don't get paid a commission selling prison cells. You know what I mean? And so I had to go the approach of building a new database, which takes years. It's not something you do overnight. I went and started doing open houses, 2, 3, 4 open houses a week. My first office was out in Gold Canyon. Half of you probably don't even know where Gold Canyon is in here, you know what I mean? Little tiny retirement kind of town out east of Apache Junction. The wintertime we thrived, and the summertime we starved out there, you know? Half the population leaves to go back up north. But I really, really got my stripes out there doing you know, gajillions of open houses. And I like to kind of liken doing open houses to almost like becoming a comedian. You think you stand up on a stage for the first time and kill it? Or do you think you suck at it, right? The good comedian is the ones who have been booed off stage many times, right? And so it comes down to frequency and it comes down to duration. So doing lots and lots of open houses is the reason I did it. Not because I'm special or because I'm smarter than anybody else, you know what I mean? Because I'm not. I just did so damn many of them and I was too stubborn to quit. And so in the process of doing all those open houses, I managed to build quite a few systems and I managed to learn a thing or two, and that's why I'm here today, is just to share those things with you. Again, I'm not here to sell my company, I'm not here to sell you anything, there's not going to be any books on tape or anything like that at the end, you know what I mean? I'm just here to give back to the industry that has changed my life. So we will get jumping in, and I'm just going to jump right into, I'm going to break this class, you guys all have an outline, right? Everyone have one? I'm going to break this class up into, we're going to first talk about some statistics and why holding open houses is good. Then we're going to go into selecting the right property. We're going to talk about when to host an event, what stuff do you need, how to get people there, what to do during the event, which is the most important part of the entire open house, how to follow up afterwards, and then we'll go over some ahas. But I'll jump back into that story I was going to tell you about why it matters what your intentions are when you're holding an open house. Doing a big mega open house out in Higley Groves in Gilbert, we met some people who were super impressed with the number of signs we did. We did flyers into the neighborhood. They saw our ads on Facebook. They were just really impressed with the effort we put into that open house. And so she hired me to sell her house. And I was excited. It was a $500,000 house. It was $475,000 house in Higley Groves, big, beautiful place. And we got to work doing the same old thing, and I had a big open house, and we had like 30 groups come through that event, and it was great. And then after the open house, she calls me up and wanted to talk about it. And so naturally, I'm like, yeah, it was great. We had a whole bunch of people. We're going to follow up and see if anyone's interested. And she goes, yeah, I want to talk to you about the open house. I actually want to cancel my listing agreement with you. And I'm sitting here going, did I say something wrong? I think I told her it went well, right? I didn't say something stupid. I couldn't figure out for the life of me why she wanted to cancel her listing agreement. I said, why? What happened? And it's in my listing agreement that you can cancel with me anytime. You know what I mean? And so she says, yeah, one of the 30 groups of people that came through the open house were some friends of mine that I sent in there to like secret shop you, to see how you did. And never once did you make even the slightest attempt to sell my house. You just tried to convert them into buyers. And I thought about it, and so she fired me. So that was like a $14,000 education right there, right? I think that's what I paid to drop out of MCC. Right about that, but it didn't take me 10 years to pay it off. That was I was for a minute like I was pissed off, at first. But then I thought about it. I was like, you know what? She's right. These people are not paying us, and they're not paying our brokerage to use their house as a source of lead generation. They're paying us to sell their home. Make sense? She had every damn right to be mad at me, and she was right. I didn't, because back then I followed the typical salesy shit that we're taught about the reason we hold open houses is to meet buyers and sellers. That's secondary. That happens naturally when you do your job. So from that day forward, I took open houses and I changed it. And I made a valiant, like genuine, real effort to sell every home I've ever been in. I know the neighborhood inside and out. I can tell you anything about that house. I am there to sell it in a positive light. I'm going to get you excited about it when you walk in the door. And if it ends up being too big or too small or whatever, too expensive, too cheap, whatever, hopefully you're going to want to do business with me because I'm the only realtor you've met that day that's doing their job. Most of us are out there with commission breath and acting desperate for a client every time they walk in the door and trying to turn them into a client without doing our job first. And so when I changed that and when I started being the guy who can answer any question you ask me about that house without looking at a sheet of paper or opening my laptop, people looked at me like I was an expert versus like I'm a salesman. Make sense? If you learn anything today, and you might only learn one thing today, there's a very good possibility that's it. I might have just crap ideas from here on out. Make it that, because I can tell you that will change everything for you. And we'll talk more about what kind of stuff you need to know and how to present that way later in the class. But I just wanted to start with that. So let's talk about open house attendees. There's 3 phases. We have a whiteboard here. Cool. There's 3 phases for a home buyer, okay? Phase 1. Oh, come on. Where'd it go? Yeah, we have the research phase. I apologize. I look like I just had a seizure on the board, but I didn't. Research phase. Who is that? Research phase is Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin, whatever, all these websites. Because it used to be that people had to come to a realtor to get this information. Obviously, now they don't. So by the time you've met somebody, 90+% of them have done a lot of research to know what they want. So the research phase, this is an 18-month sales cycle. From the time someone logs on to Zillow for the first time or Realtor.com, they saw a cute commercial with a family and a puppy dog and a big green front yard or whatever, and they're like, I want that. The average, according to NAR, is 18 months before those leads actually come to fruition and actually purchase a property, okay? Because it's those people who eventually figure out where they want to be and what price range they want to be on and or what schools they want to be and that kind of stuff. Those are the people who eventually move to phase 2, which is the preview phase. This is your open house leads. They're out previewing the properties. Some of them are just driving by and see some signs and get curious, but a lot of them are there intentionally. You know what I mean? They're not going to tell you that when they walk in. They're not going to be like, we've been researching this neighborhood and we love this house. No, it's no different than if I go to JCPenney to buy, I don't know, a sport coat. I walk in and someone says, hey, can I help you? And I go, nope, I'm good, right? Even though I don't know what the sport coats are. But I don't want to be sold, right? And so that's why people say what they say. But the preview phase, these people are, anyone want to guess? There's really no interaction in here yet. We can get some like smiles and some interaction. 12 weeks is the average time from someone visiting an open house to when they purchase. So, do you want to work with leads that are 18 months out or that are 12 weeks out? I mean, honestly, that's to me that was a pretty big deal to learn that. The third phase, of course, is the purchase. You know what I mean? So that's the cycle of buying, and if that doesn't convince you to do more open houses, in 2018 I scaled back a little bit, but I tracked my numbers. I did 36 open houses and I had 9 closings from those 36 open houses. That's 1 closing for every 4 open houses I did. And I'll be honest, I half-assed a lot of those. There's certain things I will cut out and certain things I won't. But if you can get to a point where you can close a sale for every 4 open houses you do, that should add 12 to 24 12 to 24 sales a year to what you're doing, depending on how many open houses you're doing and how good you get at it. Make sense? And any questions so far? I move fast, I talk a lot. Anyone? No? You sure? Okay. Another interesting thing I learned was that 19% of people who come through open houses are either investors or interested in becoming investors. And so if you want to go into that space and meet investors, it's a great way to do so. I've got a large database of investors that I've met at open houses. It's just a matter of asking them the right questions. Looks like we got someone coming in. How you doing, Matt? Get you a handout here. Thank you. Yep. We've all done it, but you just need to stand up, give us your name, where you were born. Oh, that's the second damn time I tripped on it. And you think I'd learn by now. So anyway, yeah, people you meet at open houses generally a lot closer to buying. Of course, you're going to have your looky-loos and your neighbors and your people who just want to go through and steal drugs out of the cabinets. I get it. But most of the people who come through are great. Okay? Any questions on that? Take that as a no. Okay, we're going to jump into selecting the right property. That's important. So you can hold your own listings open, obviously, and company listings, of course. Everyone here is my home group, I think, right? Except Russ? You're not my home group?
No.
Who you with?
The real estate firm. Gilbert.
Yeah, I know them. A lot of people I used to work at the Solutions were out there, Bar and all that.
Yep.
I don't know what your company allows, and I know what Keller Williams does and doesn't allow. In my home group, we're allowed to hold open other brokerages listings. And other brokerages are allowed to hold open our listings. It's something that the owners are permissible about. It is legal as long as both brokers are okay with it. Are you guys allowed to do that?
Yeah.
You are? I know KW is really hardcore no on that one. I love holding open other brokerages listings for a few reasons. I've got a little geographic farm that I try and work, and it's only 2 city blocks. And I want to meet as many people in that 2 city block radius as I possibly can, and I want to meet them as many times as possible. So when I don't have listings in there, or my home group doesn't have listings in there, I'm reaching out to every other brokerage I can, trying to hold listings in those areas. The thing about holding open another brokerage's listings is you do not have a fiduciary responsibility to protect the seller the way someone with that brokerage does. So if I'm asking the listing agent, hey, can I hold this open? They go, yeah, please do. By the way, God, they're desperate for an offer, and they'll probably go down $50,000 if you bring me a buyer. That's something I can tell people. You know what I mean? That makes it interesting. Should that listing agent have said that? Probably not, but it happens. You know what I mean? But it's, if you're into geographic farming, or if you want to get into geographic farming, the people who are pulling up don't care what sign is in the front yard. They just care about who's inside. And I've closed many, many, many sales in my career from people walking in and seeing me for the 5th time and going, damn, Jesus, fine, I'll work with you. You know what I mean? I get it. You work, you hustle, I get it. You're the guy. You know what I mean? It's been pretty great. Anyone ever held open a for sale by owner? Just me? Best way to get for sale by owner listings. Look, if you want to hold open houses and you want to get listings, reach out to every FSBO you can and just say, listen, I'm not calling you trying to tell you that you can't sell your home yourself like all these other agents are probably calling you with the same exact script. I'm calling to see if I can hold your house open, and I want to try and sell it. And if I find a buyer for you, I will just introduce the 2 of you and you guys can do your transaction. I won't even ask you for a commission. That part you can change if you want a commission on that. If you want to try and represent them, ask them. I always say, I'll just introduce the 2 of you and you guys, I'll just stay out of it. And they always say the same thing, well, what's in it for you? And it's simple. I want the opportunity to meet buyers and sellers. In that case, I'm not really trying to sell the home, but I'm being forthright about that. I don't have a fiduciary toward that for sale by owner, right? So I reach out and I'm just honest with them. It's a breath of fresh air in this business, you know? And I say, I'd like to hold this open so I can meet potential buyers and sellers that this house doesn't work for. And if I find a buyer for you and I'll make a great effort to sell it, I'm not going to tell people not to buy it. But if we can get some people in and we can find you a buyer, it might be a good scenario for you. Do that 2 or 3 times, and when it doesn't sell, they're going to ask you to list their house, first of all. Second of all, you're going to meet buyers and sellers. You know what I mean? It's a total win-win. And if you've never tried it, I highly recommend you give it a shot. Best place to find FSBOs I found is on Zillow. Any questions on any of those things so far?
I came in late. Can you back up 1 second? Where you on
No,
your
I
stats?
Just kidding.
Okay. On your stats, it says this year I'm hosting 3 to 4 open houses per week.
Oh yeah, I forgot to read that part.
Oh, you did?
And that's kind of changing, but let's talk about really quick burnout. If you hold open houses every single weekend, are you going to burn out? Oh yeah, I was on fire about a month ago. Like, I was burned out beyond belief. Not only did I hold too many open houses in a row, but I also lost like 6 transactions in 48 hours. I was having a pretty damn bad week, you know? So I took some time off. But coming back, just started doing open houses again in the last few weeks after taking like 3 months off. What I'm doing is I'm doing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday open houses, and then I'm taking a few weekends off.
Okay.
And then I'm going to do it again the third week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I like to do, now the school's out right now, so I haven't been doing the Thursdays, but I like to do Thursday morning open houses, like 7 a.m. It sounds crazy, but if you can find a listing that's really close to an elementary school or a junior high, mostly an elementary school though, and you can have, we got signs made up that say free donuts and coffee on top of our open house signs, and we just put them all from the school basically, from the Kiss and Go, where they drop the kids off. They come out and there's a whole bunch of signs saying free coffee and donuts. I want to meet those people, you know what I mean? And so we'll do that from like 7 to 9 in the morning. And then whatever donuts we have left, if my fat ass hasn't eaten them, then I will go do a pop by with a box of donuts to someone I know in the area and be like, hey, just want to let you know we had a bunch of donuts and I thought of you. Yes?
How many donuts do you buy? Do you bring?
We got like 3 dozen. I really overdo it. You know what I mean? And that's because I want to eat 3
You want to eat them.
I'm gonna eat at least 3 of them. Yeah, it's just disgusting. But no, it's a good thing to do. Like if I can find a vacant property in a good area and tell the listing agent, I want Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I keep my tables set up. I keep all that stuff set up, and I'm just showing up. You know what I mean? It's pretty good. And then you take a few weekends off to be with the kids. I've got 3 kids. I've got 14, 13, and 6. Okay. I've given up a lot of weekends and a lot of vacations and a lot of time in this business for the last 10 years and sacrificed a lot. So I'm at a point now where my oldest is 14 and I'm just gonna not work as many weekends and I'm gonna refer more buyers out and I'm gonna work less and spend more time with those kids because I can. I have that power. We get into this business and it's like we're slapped across the face and told, your only job now is to hustle and be everybody's bitch. Welcome to Doormat Realty. That's the most of the industry. Like we're 24/7 for people. I don't want to be 24/7 for anybody. You know what I mean? And I like to say this at my class because sometimes people just need to hear it. You know what I mean? Makes sense? I'm going to have a few weekends off at a time, and that's going to make my burnout go way down. And so that's why I'm doing that. Make sense? Okay. All right. Am I scaring anybody yet? Let's talk about selecting the right property again. So we talked about FSBOs. Expireds, I've never done that, but I've actually heard of agents who will call expired listings and say, I noticed you expired 2 years ago and wondering if you want to just test the market and see how it responds if we were just doing an open house one weekend and on a Saturday or something, get a bunch of people in, see what they think of the house, see if they think they would pay the price you were wanting originally. Again, I've never done that, but I've heard it's awesome, something you might want to try. Make sense? When you're selecting a property, I've noticed that curb appeal is really important. If you have a couple flowers in the front yard and an American flag, you're going to get twice as many people getting out of their car and coming in. Because I sit at lots of open houses and I'll see cars pull up one after the other and then look and then leave. And I'm like, why are they leaving? I'm always trying to figure that out. A lot of the time also that's just because it's a 2-story house. I'm not saying don't hold 2 stories open, but half the people who drive up and see that it's a 2-story home after following all your signs, they're going to go, I don't want a 2-story. I've got a bad hip, I've got a bad knee, I've got a bad whatever. I don't want that. So you're going to get a little bit less turnout on a 2-story, so something to consider. I prefer holding open vacant listings over occupied listings, but I will do either. I noticed I get a lot better sign-ins on occupied though, because I can be a little more forceful. Hey, this is someone's house and they live here and you're going to sign in or you're not, whatever. But at the same time, I don't like having to go through the cabinets and find all the Oxycontins and the things, the things that are going to be stolen if I'm not paying, if I'm not in every place at once. That's something I do though. If I show up to an occupied house, I'm going to, before I let anyone in, I go through the house and I pretend I'm a thief and I look for anything of value that would be easy to steal and I grab it. And I put it in I've got a little tote that I carry, put all my stuff in, and I put it in there. So that someone's not, because I've had things come up missing in open houses. That one I got fired from, right after she fired me, she calls me back and she goes, our house keys are missing, they were hanging in the laundry room. Someone took them. And I've got teenage girls in this house, and I'm freaking out. So even though I just got fired, I rekeyed her damn house, right, just to be safe. Then the next day they found the keys in the backyard. So pissed off. But I felt like it was the right thing to do, you know what I mean? So I did the right thing. She was sick. Anyway, so well-known subdivisions are really good for social media. So where are we at? We're in Scottsdale. What's a well-known subdivision around here?
McDonald.
A McCormick Ranch, yeah, whatever. If like a lot of homes are just in a neighborhood, but they're not in a well-known master plan type subdivision like that. If you do something in a well-known subdivision, it's much easier to put out a social media ad saying open house in whatever ranch community you just. I don't know Scottsdale at all, dude. I literally refer Scottsdale stuff away. Like I don't know this place. I'm Gilbert, and I don't know. But that ad with the name of the community, people are going to see that come across their feed and go, "Oh, I know where that is. I want to check that out." You know, if I'm in East Mesa, for example, it would be like open house this weekend in Augusta Ranch. That's going to attract more people than open house this weekend in East Mesa. You see what I mean? So if you have an opportunity, if you're picking between two properties and one's in a well-known subdivision, it might be better for your social media game. Like I said, single story will get more. So there's a theory in this business of how many of when you're picking a property to have the least amount of turns possible. Have you guys heard of that before? It's garbage. Let me tell you why. Well, let me tell you something. Let's just pretend, I'm just going to do like a map, and this is the valley, so everything's on a big grid, right? So here's a major intersection, and here's a turn off that road, and then maybe it comes down like this, and over here, and it's a whole bunch of turns, right? Let's say the house is down here. Conventional wisdom says that's too many turns. You know what I mean? Or maybe there's more turns even. That's too many turns because if one sign comes down, nobody's going to be able to find you. Now, if you're hiring my company to put out your signs, maybe you do stick to that because we can't do what I'm about to teach you. And this is something I learned from the Callaways, and I'm sure you guys have probably all heard of the Callaways. Most successful real estate team in history at their time. They sold $1 billion in their first 10 years. $1 billion. What I learned from Joanne Callaway was that she would look for homes intentionally, because this is how they started their business, was open houses and geographic farming. She would look for houses that had as many turns as possible in the neighborhood, and she would go knock on the front door and talk to the seller and say, now keep in mind, Joanne Callaway's this big and she's cute as a button, and her husband wear matching shirts every day, and like she's adorable, and I want to pick her up and I want to like put her in my pocket and go home and keep her because she's cute. I don't get that same reaction when I knock on doors. People think that I'm there to repossess their motorcycle. You know what I mean? And so a lot of times people just don't even answer the door for me, and it pisses me off. Anyway, she would intentionally go to this house and this house and this house, and this one, and all of these houses in the neighborhood that she can possibly talk to them and say, would it be okay with you if I put an open house sign in your front yard just for a few hours? We're doing our best to try and sell your neighbor's home, and we want to do a good job for them. Is that okay? Who the hell's going to say no to her? Nobody. But she would have conversations about real estate every single time. Lots of conversations, and she would list these people's homes eventually. She did it intentionally because our job in this business is simple. Talk to people about real estate. It's that easy. You know what I mean? You want to do open houses, it's a little better just because they want to see a house. I mean, you can hand out business cards in a Home Depot parking lot if you really want to. It could work. I don't know. I'm not going to do it. But the point is, don't look at that conventional advice that we've all heard and just assume it's true. Every one of these turns is 3 or 4 opportunities to talk to people. You know what I mean? Now, are you going to run into the occasional asshole who's going to kick your sign down and then go kick his dog and kick his wife and just hates life? Yeah, of course. But, that's why we put out a lot of signs. So we're going to kick the one down in his front yard. By the way, I caught someone taking one of my signs down recently, and it was amazing. Oh my God, it was glorious. I literally came to a sliding stop in their front yard in my truck and jumped out and got in his face. Don't do that. Okay.
What did you say?
It was like 10 years of built-up aggression, finally catching somebody.
What did you say?
And I said, what the hell do you think you're doing with my sign? And he said, well, it was in my yard. I said, it was on your side yard. I said, you chicken shit, you can't have a sign on your side yard for 2 hours to help me sell your neighbor's house? I just got in his face. And I grabbed it out of his hand and I put it in the neighbor's house across the street, and I said, they're not chicken shits.
I'm framing the wanted poster. This is hysterical.
Listen, this job can make us crazy, and sometimes we gotta let the crazy out. I'm not recommending anyone do that, by the way. But okay, back to the list here. Newer listings are best. That does not mean newer homes. Newer listings. How long has the house been on the market? 180 days. How long has the house been on the market? 2 days. Understand? People are going to take everything more seriously if it's a new listing. And so I like to hold newer listings open. It just changes the conversation every time. You're going to find out faster if they're serious buyers because they don't got time to screw around. Make sense? And the last thing I have on the selecting the right property, if you, this is something I've done twice and it was awesome. If you can find a property that's a fixer-upper in really bad shape, get together with a contractor, bring him to the house, have him do a quick bid of what it would cost to renovate that home. Have a list of homes that are fixed up that are similar and what they're selling for. Have a lender on site who does rehab loans. And when people come in, give them a presentation about how you can transform this house into a fixer-upper, this fixer-upper into like a dream home. And man, will that earn loyalty from people because no one else is doing that, man. It's super cool. It's a little extra planning, you know what I mean? But you don't go paying for renderings and all that kind of stuff because that can get expensive. But if you have a contractor and a lender who are competent in that, it's awesome. It's really cool. So another thing to try. Any questions on anything I've gone over so far? Anyone need a pee-pee break? All right, we'll talk about when to host an event. When you guys do open houses, when do you generally do them on weekends?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Friday.
And you like Friday? I like Friday also.
I like Friday evenings.
I like Friday open houses a lot. And the reason is why?
Catch them on the way home from work and
And
they're looking.
They're happy.
Yeah.
People are happy on Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
That's the longest amount of time before they have to see that asshole boss again, right? Like Sunday night, they're pissed.
Yeah.
But Friday afternoon, it's a six-pack in the truck, and they are just excited for the weekend, right? So, and another thing, since we're talking about Fridays, is also if I do a whole bunch of Friday open houses, I still get to see my kids that weekend and hang out with them. Again, there's plenty of times you can do open houses that are not Saturdays and Sundays. You're going to get more traffic on a Saturday and a Sunday, for sure. You're also going to have a lot more competition on a Saturday or a Sunday. Because if they've met you, they've probably met 7 other realtors that day at other open houses, right? How many do you think they're going to meet on a Friday at 4 o'clock? You. Maybe one other. So maybe if they're really serious, you have them in the car Saturday, right? So I love Friday open houses. My attendance is not as much. But again, I'm not after 20, 30, 40 groups, man. I'm after like 3 or 4 good connections. That's my goal. And I don't add every single person in my database. I just add the ones that I really want to work with. You know what I mean? So just something to think about on that. But yeah, Fridays are good. We talked about the early morning, like Thursday morning by a school. And the nice time of the year, I'm telling you, that's cool. I've met a lot of investors who are like, you know, out doing their thing. Investors, for whatever reason, seem to get up early, but
Because they're looking for donuts.
Yeah, they just want donuts. And I'm like, hey, take 4. I don't care, because if you don't need 4, I'm eating 4. But yeah, Friday afternoons, like early morning ones are great. Community yard sales, like when it's the nice time of year, and there's a lot of these big community-wide yard sales. Find a vacant house in that neighborhood and be there again. Donuts on a table in the driveway with the garage door open, and just meet people. It's a great way to meet people. I've even known some people who use vacant houses as their office. In fact, the guy, Brent Hammonds, he's with my home group. He just moved into my office. I've got a branch in downtown Gilbert, and he just moved in and rented one of the offices. But that's what he used to do, is he found a bank-owned home in Val Vista Lakes, 2013 maybe. He liked the house a lot. It was like, he was doing his own signs, 2 turns off the street. He was at that place Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. He even hooked up Wi-Fi in the house. You know what I mean? He sat there, and he treated it like an office, and he met 1 or 2 people a day. And that was like 2012, and he sold like $6 million that year. In 2012, selling $6 million was like selling $15 million now, right? He sold a lot of homes from doing that. He wanted it. It's like no different than working in an office that has walk-in traffic. It's, you know, you're gonna be somewhere. Might as well be somewhere where you're gonna meet somebody, right? It's a good idea. Something to consider. The community yard sale is really fun though, because that's people who are just out and about, weren't expecting to meet you at all. They tend to be more opened up. You know what I mean? That's what I noticed. All right, any questions on when to host an event, or does anyone have anything to add to that? Times or anything? No? Okay. I will jump into the stuff you need. There's a whole list of things you should have in an open house. I'm going to just touch on this briefly just for the sake of time. You'll notice the payment scenarios flyer is bolded on that list. Do you see that? Because that's super important. I have my lender with every open house I do. I send him the property address, the price, the taxes, the HOA, all that stuff. And he puts together a flyer that I have that's like FHA, conventional, down payment assistance, VA, right? And then the principal and interest and HOA and the taxes and all these things are spelled out over here. And then the bottom is the payment, the actual like to the penny house payment quoted by a lender based on today's rates of what that will cost for someone to own. Most people are payment driven. You know what I mean? Tell someone you could have this car for $35,000, and that's a big amount of money. Tell someone you can have this car for $600 a month, and they go, I can afford that. Well, the same exact thing happens in a house. People are walking around, they go, how much is it? You go, oh, it's $350,000. They go, son of a bitch, that's a lot of money. That's 35% of $1 million, right? But when they see the payment is like $2,000 or whatever that would be, I don't know what the payment would be on that. Then they go, oh man, that's not much more than we're paying on rent. That changes the conversation again, right? And it's something they're not going to see anywhere else. Do that. I can't stress that enough. I have it on stands by the table where I'm at. I've got a stand in the kitchen. I've got a stand upstairs in the bathroom. I've got like 2 or 3 of them throughout the house. Because here's the other thing. They don't want to stand up. Like, let's say you're the agent hosting the open house. I'm not going to stand here and look at all your stuff because that's awkward, right? But if I'm in the kitchen and you're not following me around like a lost puppy, and it's right there, then I'm going to take the time to read it, right? That's another mistake agents make, is they follow people around the open house. And we'll go over that, but don't do that. Imagine going to a grocery store and someone working there like follows you around. What are you looking for next? Well, I'm looking for me. Aisle 5! I'll walk you down there. Tell me about your life. You know, people want to be left the hell alone, right? So, anyway, there's a lot of things on here that are great. I used to set up like 4 tables. I used to have this huge presentation that went into everything. I've scaled it back just because I've done like 1,000 open houses, and I can't keep doing that. 4 tables and spending an hour setting the house up and stuff, you know. And I brought in popcorn machines, and I've done all these things that are cool. But I'm tending to be a little more minimalistic now. But these are all things that do help. So keep this as a reference. Look at the list. By the way, forgot to say something that I always say in the very beginning. My contact info is right here. If any of you ever have a question on anything with open houses, don't hesitate to reach out to me. There's also a Facebook group I created called Mega Open House Mastermind. There's 1,500 agents in there from around the country who just talk open houses, and if anyone posts their open house in there or talks about their listing, then we call them names and kick them out. Because why the hell would you do that? But go to that Facebook group and join. There's only one question you have to answer, and that's, I promise I won't advertise my open houses in this group. Because none of us are coming to your open house, guys. Just not happening, and I don't want my group being filled. But there is a ton of information in there as well. I want to make sure you really understand that I'm available to you if you need anything, okay? So, back to where I was, which was where, right here. Stuff you need. I can just run through it. Directional signs, obviously. The way I operate, the more the better. Like this house right here, we'd probably have at least 12 signs at this intersection. We'd have 6 here, we'd have 2 here, 2 more here. We'd have 4 in the front yard here. You know what I mean? A minimum. And so, if you're just going to put up 1 or 2 right here, turning into the neighborhood, this is definitely the most important place on this map. I know this map isn't like really that great, but if this is a major intersection and this is the turn into the neighborhood and you only have a few signs, don't bother putting them here. It's just a complete waste if you only have a few. Put them here. This is the glory zone or whatever you want to call it. Right? Make sense?
Is there not a limit how many you can put out?
Oh yeah. Yeah, but we just
Ignore it.
well, we don't operate everywhere. There are certain, so I don't operate in every city. Like Avondale, for example, they'll fine you if you put up more than 4. They'll fine you $250 per sign over 4, and the police will actually pull you over and write you a ticket. I was threatened with an $11,500 ticket for setting up open house signs in Avondale. So guess what? We just don't go to Avondale. Gilbert has a 6 sign maximum, but they don't enforce on the weekends. They're closed. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of shit we figured out, is where can we get away with it? Because everyone's going to have a sign code. And so on our website, openhousehelpers.com, we have lists of communities we do and do not service based on what we know. You know, we have a few HOA letter writing Lindas who will lose their mind if we set up in their turf, that kind of stuff. So,
Do they, if they're counting signs, and actually if they're counting them, do they count the sign that you have in the property itself?
some cities they do.
Some cities they do.
Yeah, I know in Gold Canyon there was a community out there where the homeowner got fined, and it wasn't even for the signs in the neighborhood. We had 25 signs going from the main highway up through the neighborhood to the house, but we only had one sign every turn they would take, and a couple like straight arrow signs saying keep going to keep people engaged. The HOA fined these people because they had 4 signs in the front yard. Fined them like $150 for that.
Oh my gosh.
Like, Jesus, really, man? You got nothing better to do with your life? You know what I mean? It's just crazy to me. So, yeah, always look at the rules and ordinances, but you can use our website as kind of a guide of where we're going to get away with it and where we're not. Might be helpful to you. Make sense? Okay.
Can you tell us about your placement where you circled 6 right there?
Right here? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll make it a little cleaner, actually. Is there an eraser up here somewhere? Right there on the
Table.
There it is. So I'm just going to erase that and rewrite it real quick. So let's just say this is Rain Tree right here, since that's where we are, right? And this is like the street turning off of Rain Tree to the neighborhood. So I've got 2 different kinds of signs. We use coroplast. We don't use the A-frame folding signs. The reason I don't is not because one's better than the other, it's because I can't fit 150 of those in a car. So with these coroplasts, these 18 by 24 coroplasts with the wire frame stakes, I can fit tons of those in a vehicle. Because our installers are all independent contractors. They're not out with like company vehicles. Some of them have cars, some of them have trucks, minivans, whatever, but they can fit a ton of these. By the way, if you're gonna buy these, find the ones that are 17-inch stakes. Do not buy 24 or 30-inch stakes. They're hell to get in the ground. Okay? The 17-inch ones are just rigid enough to where you can just tap them in with a hammer. Put your hand on top, tap it in. Make love, not porn, guys. If you start monkeying around and smashing this thing in the ground as hard as you can, it's just gonna bend and break and you're gonna be pissed off. Okay? Don't never forget that. He likes that. Make love, not porn. I've said it a million times. 17-inch wire stakes with the 2 cross members. Anyway,
Where do you
so
buy them?
Home Depot. You can go to Home Depot. So the 2 types of signs we have are turns, and that would be 2-sided, both, you know, the arrows pointing both sides, so wherever you put it. And then we have these ones that are like, keep going. And so right here, I would have 1, 2, 3. This is for traffic driving this way. They'd see 1, 2, 3 signs pointing this way. And for traffic driving this way, they'd see 1, 2, 3. Notice they're kind of spaced. I try and space my signs out 40 to 50 feet between signs. If you're driving down the street, okay, you're just driving down the street, and you see like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like a whole bunch of signs just clumped up really close to each other, what the hell's the point of having 5 of them? You know what I mean? But if you see it like 1, 2, 3, 150, 200 feet, this is why sign placement matters. The people who are driving this way, and they're going to Starbucks over here to drink shitty coffee, and we're just going to interrupt their day. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to besides the people who are out looking for open houses, we're trying to interrupt these people's day and get them to come and check out this house, right? Well, if you have just one sign right here, and that's it, by the time they see that, they're either going to have to slam on their brakes or make a U-turn or something, right? But my signs are back here 200, 300 feet. And then I have these signs back here, you know, like a quarter mile. By the time someone's supposed to make a turn and come to my open house, they've had a lot of time to think about it. It's not an impulse decision. It's oh, open house. Can't wait to get that coffee. Oh, damn, another sign. Maybe I should, coffee. Another one. Damn, I should go check out this. Like, they're making this gradual decision, and eventually they're going to turn in. And so, not everybody, I can't guarantee you're going to get results, but most of the time, when people hire us after they've been doing open houses at the same property over and over, they're like, damn, we have like 3 times more people. And the placement's the reason. Because people have time to think about it. Yes?
What are you gonna do if, like, say there's a couple open houses in that neighborhood and they got their signs all kind of right there too?
Like another agent that's not us, you mean? Or?
Yeah. There's like another agent, he's doing an open house.
Yeah,
and he's got a sign.
we number one, we never put our signs in front of another agent's signs. There's another company here locally called Sign Bros. Have you guys heard of them? I call them sign hoes. They will intentionally, every chance they get, we've caught that guy stealing our signs, putting his signs directly in front of ours so you can't see them, moving them, throwing them into gutters and ditches. Like, it happens all the time. We won't do that. I've even got a picture on my phone, if I can find it quickly, of one of our signs set up and his directly in front of it, right? If I see another agent's signs, I'm absolutely never going to try and obstruct or screw with that agent. Why would I do that? That's a horrible thing to do. So I'll work around what's in place. You know what I mean? And I just hope to get the same respect in return. If it's a small area where signs are, I'm going to go next to them even further from the street. I'll be less seen just to respect the fact that their signs are there first. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are times that agents will order open houses from us who are two different agents trying to hold in the same neighborhood. Be like the same signs go in different directions. If both agents will agree that it's cool to have signs go in two different directions, then we'll do it. But otherwise, whoever got there first kind of has that. We want to protect the fact that they came to us first and spent the money, and so we try and be as respectful as we can in those situations. Yes.
I'd like to know more about the coffee and donuts signs. You do those just in the morning from 7 to 9, or do you do them on the weekends as
No,
well?
I just do it in the morning. Yeah, just on those ones in the morning, honestly, and it's because a little more expensive, and plus the signs I made, they're just writers, and so I use these 90% of the time, but my installers don't work at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday, and so I'm putting out my own signs. And so in that case, I'm putting out like A-frame signs, and they have the little clips on top so I just made little writers like this big that I put on top, and so I just only use them at that time when I'm setting up my own.
And then, excuse me. But
Now, I'm not saying you can't do it all the time. Hey, I know a real estate agent locally named Dawn that she does hot cocoa or something like that at every one of her open houses, and she puts signs up, hot cocoa, and she's like known as the hot cocoa lady. Like I can tell you, there's a million other things I'd rather be known as than the hot cocoa dude or whatever. But she kills it with those little hot cocoa signs.
Just call me for a listing. Anyway, and so do you brew the coffee, or is it instant coffee?
No, we'll just go like Dunkin' and get those containers.
Ah, okay.
And they'll give you cups. They'll give you everything you need. It's so easy. Yeah, and then
All right, thank you.
my lender that does those with me, he will only do that if the house has a microwave. It's weird because he likes his coffee so hot that it burns his throat to the point where he can't talk, and so he has to keep heating it up over and over. I'm like, the radiation in your coffee, you're going to turn into Hulk one day because you have to heat it up every 30 seconds. But yeah, any other questions? Yeah.
The ones you do super early, I know a lot of the lock boxes, you can't get into them until 8. Do you
I'll get the lock. I'll get the key the day before.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So no, I did it.
Yeah. Because trust me, I've shown up and had that happen.
Yeah.
I can tell you this. Any stupid thing that can happen at an open house, I've done it. Anything. Like, I've been woken up on the couch watching a football game, like I fell asleep. People come in and wake me up. I've had to go number 2 to find out there's no water. I'm talking every stupid thing you can think of, guys. Every one of them. I've done it. Yep. Did you raise your hand?
No.
Oh, I did.
2 quick questions.
Sure.
Moving backwards, you said the 17-inch wire stakes are available at Home Depot, which led me to think about the actual corrugated plastic signs. Are you customizing your signs?
Yeah, mine are customized
Okay.
to our company. We used to actually customize and sell those.
Right.
We realized that's not a business I want to be in.
Yeah.
That's a lot of back
Yeah.
and forth and stuff. But there's a few good local companies I could recommend you to afterwards if.
No, I was just wondering. And then the
Because custom signs are good, and if you want to get custom signs, especially if you're going to geographically farm an area, get the custom signs.
Yeah.
Make people see your name over and over, even if they don't stop it, they keep seeing your
Yep.
name.
And overall, average number of signs per open house, just.
I mean, as far as a company, we're like 50, we do between 25 and 50 is our average. Me personally, when I hold an open house, I'm between 50 to 75. Yeah, you can't miss me.
No wonder why you're sleeping on the couch.
No, that was back when I used to set them up myself. I'd sit down or I'd pass out because I was exhausted. I get exhaustion. No, now I just show up. I just show up and I flip a sign in the front yard. Our setup is we have a sign in the front yard that will say, on one side it says stop, Because we start the house and we're setting them up. It takes like an hour and a half to set up these signs, 2 hours sometimes. So we start the house and say, stop, we're not open yet. And then when the agent shows up, they just turn that around and it says open. You know what I mean? They just turn it around, it says open, and then they're open for business. And we also put a rider on the signpost. So if that's your signpost, we put a rider up here with the time. So it'll be like open 1 to 5 or whatever the time is. So if we're out, we start here, it's noon, open house starts at 1, people show up, they're not like walking into a house that's not actually ready. We had a situation one time in Ahwatukee where the open house started at 9 a.m. My installer had a whole bunch of jobs, so he started at like 6. So he started the house and he went on his way to set up the neighborhood. And this is before we had the stop signs and before we had the riders. And these people are chilling in their living room, like in their underwear, drinking coffee. And people like start walking in their house. And they're like, son of a bitch. And like, you know what I mean? And so we're like, we should have a system for that. So that's what we came up with, right? So, yeah, now I show up to an open house and I turn that sign around. And I bring in my little tote full of stuff and I set up and it's just easy. But when I was setting them up, yeah, I was passing out. I was passing out from heat exhaustion.
Yeah.
Who's doing open houses this time of year? Like, it's hell, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's hell on earth. And then you're like pouring sweat. I'm a sweaty dude in the air conditioning, man. Like, imagine me setting up a 50 sign open house and then standing in the house. We're looking to make a commercial, actually, like a video here pretty soon of someone setting up the open house and just getting sweatier and grosser by the time. Anyway, I saw a hand. Did I see a hand? Yeah.
How many hours do you hold it when the house is occupied, and how many hours do you hold it when it's not occupied?
For me, it doesn't change whether it's occupied or not. I used to always be 4 hours. Lately, I've been cutting that down to 3 hours. So my standard time is 1 to 4. I get asked the question all the time, like, what's the best time to hold an open house? This is super important.
Yeah.
Whatever time works best for your life. Because I can tell you, after hosting probably 1,000 open houses personally, and after my company setting up 10,000 of them at least, and me trying to find the answer to that question, there is no answer to that question. You can think you have it, and then you don't. And some weekends, you can hold the same house open 5 weeks in a row, and some weekends you're going to get no traffic, and other weekends you're going to get 30 groups. There is no rhyme or reason. You know what I mean? Point is not trying to predict what's going to happen. It's just show up in the first place. That's what matters.
Why do you only hold it for 3 hours?
Because I'm lazy, and I've done too many of them. Because I stand the whole time, and honestly, I wear cowboy boots and my feet hurt, and I'm just getting old and crappy. So I don't know. I feel like by limiting it down to people who are showing up from the online, I'm going to get a little more density in the traffic. They're going to show up. You know, the same number of people who are going to show up from the online traffic are going to show up in just less time. So
Gotcha.
But I like 1 to 4. I don't like showing up during lunchtime. Because then I'm spending money on Grubhub every single time and having food delivered, and people are at lunch, so you're going to get less traffic. I've noticed, or like from like 11:30 to 1-ish, you're not going to get as much people because they're out to lunch. And I don't want to get up early in the morning and set up. I just don't want to do that anymore. Like, I used to always do 10 to 2. I used to do 10 to 2 for so many years that I had custom signs that said open Saturday 10 to 2 on every one of them, because that was always what I did. And then I was like, God, I don't want to get up and start setting. I want to spend the morning with my kids again. It all comes down to me dictating what I want to do with my life and my time. You know what I mean? Makes sense? So if there's a time that works really well for you to where you can still have a quality of life, do that. You know what I mean? And just put more into it and try and get as many people as you can. So yeah, hang on to this list for what stuff you need. The last one says toilet paper. Trust me. Again, I've done every stupid thing you could ever. All right, let's talk about getting people there. So we've talked about directional signs. You'd be surprised how many agents don't post the open house to the MLS. I mean, it's so basic, but you're going to get 20% more people just from people. That's going to syndicate to all the websites. I don't think it goes to Zillow anymore.
No.
Unless it doesn't go there anymore?
It does.
It does now?
It stopped for a while, it seemed to.
Yeah,
But
my coworkers were complaining about that last year. I haven't done it open house in a while, so
Yeah.
it was like even 10 days or 2 weeks later, it still wasn't showing up on there. Like, how do you get it on Zillow if they're supposed to be updating? But they don't.
it wasn't for a while.
It
and
showed
then-
up last
then-
weekend.
I like talking smack about all the big companies. I really do. So I will refer to Zillow as Pillow from now on because their data is soft.
Nice.
Dumb joke, I know. As
So
for
how do you
open,
get it on there? Like, you don't, doesn't the
it's supposed to
listing
syndicate
agent-
automatically, but yeah, if it's not your listing, reach out to the listing agent. and have them do it. There's a section for that in the edit listing area. Don't put it like in the public remarks or something like that. You can actually be fined for that, believe it or not. It's crazy. But yeah, once you put it in the correct section of MLS, then it will syndicate to whatever sites it's going to syndicate to. But it's amazing how many agents don't do that. Facebook and Instagram, huge, man. My favorite ads are boosted Facebook ads, and it's based on, I don't do the events, but I just read a story that Facebook is, because Facebook's always changing, right? So they're starting to change their algorithm now to where events are going to be more noticed, okay? So if you can create an event for your open house and boost that versus just boosting an ad, I think you're going to get more traffic.
And I heard video also boosts it too.
Video's huge. Video's huge. But create a Facebook event with the address, with the time, and then when you are boosting it, you boost it. There's a section where you can put in the address of the home for the geographic area, and you can say, I want to go out 1 mile or 2 miles or 5 miles or whatever it is. And you can move the little thing back and forth to see what kind of a reach that is. Because maybe 10 miles brings it too much. Like you want to target it to a point. Especially if you have a McCormick Ranch in your title, you don't want to be so far away from McCormick Ranch with that ad that people like myself are like, what the hell's a McCormick Ranch? I don't know what that means. You know what I mean? So you can target it specifically to the area, and those people are more likely to show up. And I've had super great success. And we average 2,500 to 3,500 views per ad, spending $20. That's our actual ad spend is usually, or maybe it's 25 now. 20 or 25.
Per house.
2,500 to 3,500 views on average on our ads.
And how many days before the open houses do you start?
2 to 3 days usually.
2 to 3.
Yeah, 2 to 3 days. And it's all in the wording again. You know, try and make it to where it's an interesting area or an interesting house. Never say, come see me at my open house. Because guess what, guys? No one gives a shit. No one gives a shit that you're a realtor. Your mother doesn't care you're a realtor. We all seem to care. Come see me at my open house. No. Come see what $250,000 will buy in today's market. Come see the secret room in the closet of this bedroom. Come see something interesting. Don't come see me. Nobody wants to come see you because you're going to try and sell them the house. Right?
I'm pretty interesting.
You are. You're an interesting guy. What are you driving these days?
A truck.
You got the truck.
Told you.
He was driving a Tesla that gave him hell.
They bought it back. I bought a truck.
Yeah, because you threatened to sue them.
I did.
Like I said, he's an interesting guy. Yes.
In your Facebook boosts, the demographic section, do you ever get kind of like down in the details on
Don't
that?
touch it.
Don't touch it.
And this is something I learned from John Cheplack. If you don't target an audience, Facebook will do it for you. They'll put it in front of who they think will respond to it because they want you to buy another ad. Make sense?
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
Right?
Yeah, makes sense.
You can put in not to be shown to realtors and brokers and that kind of stuff. Like you can exclude.
I've done it.
I'll do that because I don't want to waste my money on other realtors seeing it. It's not that I'm trying to hide what I'm doing. I just
Why pay for their views?
why
if
pay
they're
for
gonna-
those impressions?
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Why pay for those? Get it in front of more people. So that's what I do is I exclude anything you can come up with that has real estate broker, real estate agent, realtor license. There's a million different ways. Lenders, yeah. Yeah, especially lenders because they're going to show up and try and talk your ear off the whole time. You know
I've
what I
been
mean?
to classes before about advertising this and boosting it, and they wanted to break down 4 different ways between male and female, mobile or desktop. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so ridiculous of how you're targeting.
I want to
Just
not
each
hate
one's
my
are
life
so-
when I'm placing
yes,
ads, so
They won't
just
do
advertise.
just be simple.
Yeah.
Simple, and I mean the fact is if you have a good ad and it's placed in the right area, like it should be, it should get attention unless your ad sucks. Because that's the other thing too. Like if you're putting out ads that are terrible, then yeah, you might not see the results. So just put out an interesting ad. Make sense?
Do you do when you advertise the ad manager or just
I just created a post and then just boost it.
boost it?
Boost it from your business page. Yeah. Good questions. Neighborhood invitations. I love flyering the neighborhood. I don't always do it because it's expensive, but I love flyering the neighborhood for an open house. And it's because I can't tell you how many phone calls I've gotten 2 years later from people who are like, I've been hanging on to your flyer forever. I didn't go to that open house, but I hung on to it because I like the way it was put together, or I see your stuff all the time, or whatever. And so the people who are, not everybody responds to social media. Not everyone responds to print. Not everyone responds to slide broadcasts. Like, everyone responds to something different. So try and have a mix of those things, right? So I like putting out the paper when I can, the flyers when I can, because the right people are going to hang on to those, and they'll hang on to them for years. You know what I mean? It's crazy. Slide broadcast, like I just mentioned, $40. You got anyone not know what slide broadcast is, or does anyone know what it is? You know what slide dial is? So yeah, so slide dial. We're all of us, my home group agents, we know exactly what slide broadcast is. We get one every Monday talking about Workshop Wednesday, right? Right? We do. You want to call a neighborhood? Hey, I can attest to this guy right here. He does a lot of circle prospecting, calling neighbor after neighbor after neighbor. Is it fun?
Hell no.
Does it make you want to jump up and click your heels and drink a pint with your friends and celebrate life, or does it make you want to jump off the frickin' building you're standing in?
More like slip my wrist, but
Yeah, then would you say then do push-ups in salt water?
Yes.
Yeah.
You gotta slice them the long ways because Mama didn't raise a quitter, so.
Mama didn't raise a quitter. Yep, you're insane. Slide broadcast, you can call 1,000 people for $40. Go straight to their voicemail. If you want to get responses, hey, this is Dustin Hollandrick with my home group. Sorry to bother you. I wanted to reach out and let you know I'm doing an open house in your neighborhood this Saturday from 1 to 4. I wanted to apologize if there's a little extra traffic in the neighborhood, but I also wanted to just invite you to come on, check it out. It's whatever, talk about the house just a little bit. We're going to have a snow cone truck in the driveway for 2 hours. If you want to come between these hours, we'd love to see you there. If you're interested in more information, just give me a call back at this number. Don't tell them the price, don't tell them the address, those kind of things, and you'll get. There's a guy in Austin, Texas, a friend of mine, who's putting together a company called Open House Drops, where they do exactly that. They slide dial, they slide broadcast, they get the phone numbers, they put the message together, they put it out there for you, and he said they're getting a 10% callback rate. That's huge.
That is huge.
Thousands, they get 100 calls for every 1,000 they put out, right? So mega teams with people who, like inbound people, like I couldn't handle 100 calls around one open house. Like imagine a freaking 100 phone calls coming in one day on your phone, right? But if you have a team or something, you have like an inbound department or ISAs or things like that, who can handle that kind of stuff. It's huge, man. Slide broadcast is good. I've had good success with it so far.
Let's just review for a second. Your script is basically giving them the script that you mentioned. You said no address, no price. If you're interested, call me.
Yeah, if you want some more information, you want to come by and check it out, just give me a call and I'll get you all the info.
All right, perfect.
Yep. Or if you don't want to get all those callbacks, just leave the information and let them show up. You know what I mean? It's your call.
Where are you getting the phone number?
Title company will get those for you. Or you can subscribe to like RedX or Mojo, or there's different dialers you can subscribe to get those phone numbers also. But I don't know who's accurate and who's not.
Okay.
There's also, oh geez, there's a new service I just started using that I'll have to post it in the group once I remember the name of it. I get like 10 emails a week from them. I'll post it in there, but there's plenty of ways to get that data. Yep.
Cool.
Door knocking. Like I said, I don't have a lot of luck with door knocking myself. They're like, honey, did you invite over the Hells Angels? Because I'm not answering this. So, but most people have good luck with door knocking and just don't want to do it. Now, something I was reading recently that I thought was interesting, because when I did door knock, I've always done it before an open house to invite people, which is fine. What about going door knocking after your open house is over? Get done at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, hit the neighborhood. Hey, thanks for answering. Hey, we just did an open house down the street. I'm Dustin with my home group. We just did an open house down the street. We had a ton of people come through, and what I found was interesting that a lot of people who came through wanted to be in this neighborhood, but they didn't like that house. And so I was just kind of curious if you know anyone in the neighborhood who's looking to sell, because we have all these buyers wanting to be in here, right? It's a different conversation. It's not an invitation, it's a question. Like I said, I read it. I read the thing I read. It was a Facebook post. They said they were having really good success with that. Give it a shot. You know what I mean? See if it works.
Can you say it again? You had a lot of people come through, but they didn't like this.
Yeah, a lot of people came through the open house that love the neighborhood and want to be in this area, but they just didn't care for that house in particular. It's a big house, like it's a small house, or you know, there's a dead body on the floor in the living room, or whatever the reason might be. And so I'm just wondering if you know anybody who's looking to sell their home in the neighborhood, who's trying to find listings for all these buyers. It's a great way to talk to people who are thinking about selling. Good stuff so far? I forgot to mention at the beginning, my goal is to make all of your faces melt with the light, with just so much good information. You walk out of here with so much good stuff that like your face physically falls off your head. So if I see anyone fanning, then I know I'm doing a good job because it's like getting warm, right? One good thing you can do is a sign writer in the front yard. So I always plan my open houses on Monday. That's when I schedule them. And so I'll put a sign writer in the yard that day. I'll go that night, and it says open house Saturday 1 to 5. Well, it used to be 1 to 5. Now I'm doing 1 to 4. And so I'll get a new writer made. But so people driving in and out of the neighborhood all week are going to keep seeing that. So if they don't see your Facebook ad and they don't see the signs, because let's face it, this guy on the same street as all these signs, this guy's not seeing anything, is he? And if you don't want to spend the money on flyering and he's not on Facebook, how else is he going to know that you're having an open house? Right? But if he's driving by this house every day and it has an open house Saturday sign in the front yard, he is more inclined to want to stop by it. $10 investment. You know what I mean? So yeah, something to think about there. And the last thing on the list is video. Yes. Go do an open house video before the open house and boost that. People will watch videos. If you can get one of those apps, and I can't think of the name of the app because I use iMovie on all my video stuff, but if you can get an app or use iMovie or use one of these video things, and on your video of you standing in front of the open house, you can have like the words you're saying scroll. The likelihood of people sticking with that video goes up like 80%.
I did one a long time ago, and it was I'm trying to look for it. Filmora Go or something like that.
Filmora or something,
Yeah,
isn't it?
Filmora Go.
90% of videos are watched on mute while people in the toilet.
Your whole day around us.
That's why those videos are effective, because they'll start reading them and they're like, I don't want to play it because then my spouse is going to hear that I'm watching videos on the toilet. But people will stick with
Yeah,
it.
they're on silent and they just say the information.
No problem with that.
Any questions on getting people to the open house or anything to add? Does anyone have anything cool to add to this? I used to have other things in here that I took out. For a while we were experimenting with Waze, for example. You know the app Waze, W-A-Z-E? You can advertise on that map to where your open house would show up to people driving around and using that GPS. My friend John Trainer was experimenting with that, and then he got shot. I don't know if you guys know John Trainer.
Yeah.
He's the guy who got shot in the head driving for Lyft, and he's been in recovery for like a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know how that turned out, to be honest with you, but he was really excited about it.
Well, my friend I saw over the weekend, I asked her about it, and it was my mom and brother passed away 2.5 years ago. It's heavy for me to even like handle that, but she follows the group, and he was on our team, the Revisto team. And,
you're in Revisto?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And basically, like he got a portion of his head like shot and blown off. And so
He's
they had to
posting on Facebook now.
reconstruct it.
You've
Yeah.
seen that, I'm sure.
So he can
Cool.
post and stuff, but I don't think that he can move really.
Yeah, he's having a hard
So-
time walking. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was really excited about Waze. He would advertise it all week. He put it in the text, open house, Saturday, whatever, Friday, whatever the time, date was. And then anyone driving in the area using the app for navigation would see that.
Oh wow.
And some people would click on it and get directions. And he was just getting, kind of trying to master that. So, something to look into. Any questions, anything?
What I found was really successful, and like I want to start back up again because I've been doing stuff the last year. So I'm happy to join and kind of get pumped up about open houses.
Hell yeah.
I still have 2 lenders to this day say they've never seen as much traffic in any open house with other realtors that they've had. Got like the best apparently to them. So that's a great compliment. And I took your class early on when I first started. So thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Do what he says, you guys. But what I found to work, I was doing open houses like Friday, and I dropped that off because it wasn't really successful, but I was doing it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 1 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
And Sunday morning from 10 to 11, I had a kickboxing class. So I would do that and still be sweaty, and then I'd go put out the open house signs and then go home and shower and go back. So it was close to my house, or the gym if I needed to shower there, or like if I knew the owner or something, I'd be like, hey, I usually get really sweaty, is it okay if I need to shower in your house? Like, but otherwise I wouldn't do that. And usually a lender would help me put out open house signs, and like with Aristo, I have like 50 plus.
Yep.
I've acquired so many, so I'm gonna get them all out there. But it's a lot of work. And then, you know, putting them out and taking them down. If you do it with another agent, you're splitting those, but if you do it with a lender, they're also getting these, and they're helping you too if you have one that will.
I have a lender sit with me probably 90% of the open houses I do.
It's great.
Well, my lender, not only will he, I mean, he doesn't have to help us with the signs, obviously, because they're set up, but he
Right.
brings things, he brings water and ice, and we just have our little system. But then he and I will like turn up music really loud and act like we're 80s metal rockers or something like that, like if no one's there. We just, like it's just more fun, but it's also safer to have someone else with you. Like there's a million
Yeah.
reasons to have a lender with you. I
Yeah.
think it's really important.
In my neighborhood though, I started smart farming, which I got an app from Stewart Title that tells you the homes that have equity, and I've been in the home 2 to 8 years. And so I would just do that every 6 weeks because I didn't really have the energy to go hand deliver flyers. So I would do the smart farm out of that 1,600 homes was about 600 to 650, so it took me 2 days. The first day I had more energy, it took me 5 hours.
You would hand deliver still
Yeah,
to those
and
houses?
heat and everything,
So
yeah.
just the ones that were more likely?
Yes,
Yeah.
and then the second day took me 8 hours to do the other half. And then what I found, there was a lot of work and a lot of energy I was doing, but sometimes that 6 weeks would coincide with an open house I was gonna do. So if I did like, hey, like one Halloween, I said it was a pumpkin, I was like, let me carve out some time to discuss your real estate needs. And then I would put, I didn't really know during the printing of that and getting that ready, that when I was gonna have the open house, but so I had these labels that I would put in the upper corner, open house, 1
Makes
to
sense.
5,
Yeah, that's smart.
you know, whatever, Saturday, Sunday, or whatever.
Yeah,
And the
that's smart.
address, and the lender on site is what I put in the 4 lines on that.
And you put a little pumpkin?
Well, the pumpkin was in the colored printed half card. Like
Oh, I thought you meant like an
double-sided thing.
actual pumpkin that like you put on top of it.
No.
The Callaways used to do that with jars of jelly. They put a jar of jelly in a postcard and ring the doorbell and run like hell because they were scared to talk to anybody. You know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah, the little pumpkins would be, like, people remember things like that. But.
Oh, well, when if this is a open house, or the farming and the open house combined, people would literally bring in that flyer and go, I've been wanting to see this house, or I'm renting now, which I didn't really, it was on
That's
the.
why I like to flyer the neighborhood too. And my flyers are bright yellow with black writing, just like my signs. Like everything matches, and people come in holding those. It makes a huge difference. Yeah.
So one, you can get leads from your neighborhood by farming, and 2, they'll walk right in and present themselves to you sometimes if
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't catch them. But if you're at flyering, you can talk to them, which is kind of like.
Well, if they come with a flyer, you know they're a homeowner in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know that's a seller lead. That's like a way of knowing that without having to ask them, right?
Yep, you get a dual on that one.
Yeah, totally dig it. I've used that Stewart Title app and it is good. There's, I think pretty much every title company out there.
Wow.
Yeah, I think pretty much every title company out there has some sort of an app.
Works way
Because you were
better.
asking, sir, about where to get the
Apple.
information from. There's a thing through
It's Remind.
Remind, thank
We went
you.
through
We
that.
talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Remind. I get emails from Remind all the time where they'll tell you like they have like a sell score, like who's most likely to sell in the neighborhood, and you'll get updates from them as now.
Buddies with the guy and I.
Remind is not, now Remind, their data is not as good. There's a company called Offers, OFFRS, where you pay them a monthly fee. Now their data is way better because they're actually tracking. So like, you know, big data is the thing now. Everything you post, everything you do, everything you buy, everything that you think about damn near is in some database. Well, in this database, you have a death in the family. You have a new child. You lose your job. Big data knows this stuff, okay? Through Offers, they're gonna kind of tell you, hey, so-and-so just had a baby. Hey, so-and-so just whatever. Their likelihood of them having to sell their house right now just went way up. And it helps you target, market those people versus just marketing everybody. My farm is 3,881 homes in 2 city blocks. I don't want to mail to 3,881 homes every single month. It's expensive. You know what I mean? I've done it.
Do you do the EDD or do you print out the labels?
EDD, even with EDDM, it's still
It is expensive.
so expensive.
I looked at that.
And you know, EDM's cool because it hits every single house perfectly in my farm, right? Like the way they mapped it out. It doesn't do that for everybody.
No.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but still it's a lot of money. But you pay the money to like a company like Offers or Remine or some of these apps. They're going to tell you who's more likely to sell and target those people. So you can take the email addresses from those lists, upload that to Facebook, and create a target audience for your ads as well. Let's say you want to just farm a certain area. Well, make sure the people who are thinking about selling are going to keep seeing your ugly face on Facebook over and over. Well, you guys have beautiful faces. I'm talking about me. I grow this beard, you know, to distract you from the ugliness from what's behind it. Come on, someone laugh at my jokes, for God's sake. No, we're feeling sorry for you. I know, you should. Hey, I'm a handsome man, I know. Yeah. All right, let's talk about during the event. I have it in here, stars. A strong opener doesn't work nearly as hard as a strong closer. We're all taught to be closers, right? You make a good impression and you make people remember you. You never have to close them. It's just the next natural step. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Like if you present yourself in a way that people are impressed, you don't have to close. Closers are weak openers if you think about it, you know? So I'm going to talk about getting sign-ins. Now, let me guess. Everyone in here probably, unless they use my clipboard, everyone in here probably has a piece of paper with some title company name at the top, and then it has like, you know, a bunch of lines where people can enter all their contact information. And of course, the first one is your phony one you filled out, right? Like for me, I used to always write Stacy Friesen, that's my wife's maiden name, at the top of my sign-in sheet with her phone number and email and everything perfect. Because then the next person is going to walk in and go, oh, well, she signed in. It must be safe. I'll sign in too. Because that's, again, the shit we're taught. Right? And let's say you fill this sucker up. You got let's say you have 18 sign-ins. Really busy open house, right? And then you're like, man, that one couple was great. I'd like to sell my house. Which one was that? And then you're having to do this shotgun approach to follow-up because you don't know who the hell anybody is or what their story is. And they've been to 6 open houses that day, and they're getting shotgun approach marketing from every realtor they met, right? Or they're getting set up on spam emails, like the campaigns that are really generic, that you're like, oh, set you up in this campaign, you'll receive 18 emails over the next 6 weeks. And you can tell they're just canned emails and nobody's going to read them and people hate them. And that's why realtors have a bad reputation, is because of the things we do. So what I did is I created this very simple, so it's the last page of your packet. I want you guys to look at this. And I have 2 designs for this. This one, the sign-in information is at the bottom. The other one I have, so you got feedback on the top and sign-in on the bottom. The other one I use, the sign-in to the top and the feedback to the bottom. I'm experimenting with these. I'm always, nothing I've said today is 100% absolute truth. It's just what I know right now. Anything can change, anything can be improved upon, right? So I'm always trying to change things, trying to find better ways. So right now I'm experimenting with having the sign-in sheet at the bottom. Because it used to be that I would hand someone this clipboard and I would expect them to sign in or they couldn't come into the open house. And then I realized that what I'm doing is I'm creating 20 new people every week that I'm going to follow up with until the day I die, because that's, again, the hardcore closer mentality we're taught to have, right? Like, just keep adding to that database and calling and calling and calling and calling and calling every week. I'm going to keep calling you until one of us is dead. That used to be my motto. You know what I mean? It's like I was inviting someone to kill me. So I've decided now I don't want to follow up with every single damn person who comes to the open house. I just don't. Doesn't mean I shouldn't. It doesn't mean you shouldn't. It just means I don't want to. And I'm a big baby sometimes, and I'm going to throw myself on the ground and punch and kick and say I don't want to. I'm going to follow up with people I want to follow up with. Okay? So just keep that in mind as I go through this. But the normal form, like I said, sign into the top, feedback to the bottom. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. It's just that's the way I've always done it, and I'm just experimenting. So when someone comes into my open house, I've always got a table strategically set up about 10 to 15 feet away from the front door. I don't let them catch me unless it's a house where like I can't see out the front door. I don't know if someone's walking up. Most of the time you have like a window or something you can see. I don't like to be sitting down when people walk in. I want to be standing or opening the door for them if I can and greeting them. And I'm going to have I'm going to have a stack of these on a clipboard. And I'm going to welcome them. And I'm going to say, hey, welcome to the open house. I'm Dustin Hollenberg. What's your name? And I'm going to shake their hand. They're going to tell me their name. Exactly 2 seconds later, I'm going to forget their name completely. I don't know how to fix that. But I'm going to hand them this clipboard, and I'm going to say, hey, welcome to the open house. I need you to go ahead and fill this part out. Again, this is normally the top, so I'm just going to act like this is the top for now. I need you to go ahead and fill this portion out for me right here. And while you do that, I'm going to go grab you a flyer. And then I'm going to hand it to them, and I'm going to walk away and give them some space. Because again, remember the looming thing? Imagine if I hand you a clipboard and I just stood here like this. Can you please make sure you fill out the address? City, state, and zip. Does that say court or way? Right? Like, I'm not going to creep on. I'm not going to crowd people. I'm a big guy. That's intimidating, and that's not a good way to start a relationship. And while they're filling that out, now if they give me any, like, I really don't want to fill this out. If it's a vacant house, I'm still going to try and get the sign in usually. You know what I mean? Like I said, it really depends. I'm always changing this around. But if someone's really adamant, if it's an occupied house, and they're adamant they will not fill this thing out, they're going to leave. You can't come in here. You can't come into someone's home without giving me your contact information. Like, what the fudge is wrong with you to even think you can do that? You know what I mean? But if it's a vacant house, I don't sweat it that much anymore. I used to, but I don't. And so I say, that's cool. And what I'll do is I'll say, you're probably concerned that you're going to get signed up on a whole bunch of spam lists, and you're going to get called 58 times and receive my real estate newsletter and get a bunch of listings sent to you. And I'm just going to tell you right now, that's not the way I do business. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send you one email at the end of this open house. And this is for the people who make, you know, like, who make it clear they don't want to fill this out. I'll send you just one email at the end of the open house with some great information. I'm going to try and earn your business. I'm going to try and earn your attention. And if you don't want to hear from me, then just don't reply. I won't enter you into my system. I won't do anything. If you reply to me, then I will keep in touch with you. And if you don't, I won't. That goes against everything we've ever been taught, right? The likelihood of those people responding to me goes way up, believe it or not. So, what's it like to be a real estate consumer in today's world? You're getting chased around by 50,000 realtors vomiting their desperation all over you. I'll do anything to work for you. I would be honored. When I see someone say, when I see someone in a Facebook post saying, I would be honored to be your agent. I'm like, this person could be a serial killer for all you know. Like, quit being so desperate, you know? God's sake. Some lady I know made a Donald Trump thing lately, and I made a joke. And she's like, are you not a Republican? And this other realtor I know chimes in, I'm a proud Republican, and I would be honored to list your house. And I was like, you two deserve each other. Hey, I don't have anything against Republicans or Democrats. They're all idiots. I'm kidding. No, but the point is, when you turn the tables on somebody and you say, listen, hey, I need to do my job. I need to protect this asset for the owner. I just need your contact information. I'll send you one email, and I'm going to do everything I possibly can to impress you and earn your business. And if at the end of the day you just don't like me, or don't want to work with me, or don't have a need, just don't reply. You'll never hear from me again. The people who are used to being chased and pursued and chased and pursued, it's like playing hard to get, man. It's like you flip it around, and all of a sudden they're like, wait a minute, I got to chase this agent, because everything else you're going to do at this open house is going to be above and beyond anything they've seen. They're going to want to do business with you if you do all these things. Make sense? But they got to chase you. There's been some open houses where I will do that with everybody. Sometimes I will do that only with people who give me grief. Sometimes I'll enter everybody into my CRM and follow up with everybody. Because again, there is no right or wrong way, right? If you're doing enough open houses and you have enough opportunities, you have the opportunity to experiment with these things, right? If you're going to do 2 or 3 open houses a year, you're going to suck at it. You're going to probably not have very good follow-up. You're not going to have a lot of opportunity. Then you're going to say open houses don't work, and you're going to quit, and you're going to go buy Zillow leads. Commit to the process. Do a whole bunch of open houses and get good at it. In order to be good at anything, you have to suck at it first. You have to be willing to suck at it for a long time and then get a little better every time, right? Like we talked about stage time. Anyway, so this person, I come back with a flyer, and while I'm grabbing the flyer, I'm just going to casually ask, so you guys live in the neighborhood, or are you out shopping for homes today? Just kind of start a dialogue. If they live in the neighborhood, they're a potential seller. If you start looking at homes, they're a potential buyer. It's just kind of a way for me to know what kind of questions should I ask next. And at this point, I'm walking back up to them with a flyer. And what they're going to do 99% of the time is they're going to try and hand this back to me, right? At that point, I'm going to just kind of stop them and say, hey, would you do me a favor? And would you mind taking this through the open house with you and give me some feedback on the home? It's really important to me that I give my sellers good feedback so they know if they're overpriced or if there's something they missed or if there's something that's like a concern to people. We want to make sure we can address those things. If you could take that through with you, I'd really appreciate it. And then I'm going to hand them a flyer and I'm going to talk about the house. And I'm not going to follow them around and point out pantries and be like, that's where the food goes, because they know that, guys. I'm going to let them walk around, but I'm going to give them a quick 30-second elevator pitch on that house. Let me tell you why you're going to love this house, by the way. First of all, split floor plan. All 3 bedrooms on this side of the house are great size. They all have good sized closets. Master bedrooms way over here with direct access to the pool. School district is awesome. Price per square foot is blah, 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 which compares really well. Like, I'm going to do my research and know that house better than anybody. I know that house better than the owner by the time I'm in the house, right? And I'm going to talk about it in a way that makes those people excited to go see it. And then I'm going to let them go. Let them go check it out. They have to come back to me now. Understand? They have to come back to me because they have my clipboard. And also, if they're a potential seller who hasn't revealed that yet, they're going to be super impressed with the fact that I care so much about that house and the fact that I care so much about the feedback and making sure the seller is in the know. Right? So I made a good impression. So they're going to go walk around, check out the house. I'm going to hang out by the front door where my table is, which is strategically there, close to the front door, in case some psychopath walks in. I've got, like ladies especially, think about those kind of things. The best safety plan is to have a plan before you need one, by the way. I'm going to stay in the living room. I'm not going to follow them around the house. I'm not going to get baited in some closet and jumped by a couple of junkies or something like that. Like, that stuff happens. Let them go walk around the house. Tell them if you need anything, I'll be right here. And they're gonna, what do you think you're doing?
Sorry, buddy.
Hell no. Class is over. Bastard. I'm gonna make you pay for that.
I gotta go on
I'm just messing with you, dude. It's all good. Nice to see you, man. All the best.
Did you recently hear about an open house, like people were showering and they're homeless people?
I saw that post.
Yeah.
Oh, it was open door house, wasn't it, or something like that?
Yeah.
It was an open storehouse. I call it open store. What's up?
I just got a question. So, I know you kind of made a comment. You said that you and your lender buddy are just hanging out. You might listen to some music, you know, while you're carrying house.
I've always got music cranking at open house, always.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm wondering, because I'm like, I go to open houses and they're just like super boring, and they're, you know, I want to leave, and so I'm just like, is it alright? Like, you know, say if it was Saturday and college football was going, would that be a bad thing to have going on TV, or like music going throughout the house that's kind of entertaining, not just piano music?
It's a good question. Here's the best advice I can give you on that. If you like college football and it's football season, put on some college football. If you like music like I do, music's my soul. If I go too long without music, I'll fall to the ground and I will die. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have to have it going. Especially on a Saturday when I was probably out Friday night at a show and I'm probably recovering right now and I need that music to lift my spirits because I've got a massive hangover. Here's the deal. Your vibe attracts your tribe. Be you. If you enjoy something and you want to incorporate it into open house, do it. Attract the people you want to work with. Attract people who are similar to you. Because if you have a college football game on and someone else walks in and they happen to like college football also, now you guys have just connected a little bit, right? Where otherwise you wouldn't because you're trying to be professional.
Yeah.
Do I look professional to you? No, I'm like the anti-realtor. You guys seen Byron Brown, the anti-lawyer?
Yeah.
He's a buddy of mine. I'm like his biggest fan. I love that guy. The guy with the sleeveless suit with the tattoos and stuff. And love that guy. I used to have a podcast and I interviewed him and I got to listen to him talk about how when he stopped being a stuffed shirt at the office and he started just being himself, his business exploded, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I used to have a really tight, trimmed beard and a polo shirt tucked into my khakis and I wanted to slip my wrist the long way because Mama didn't raise no quitter, right? Like you said.
Go bigger.
And now I show up in cowboy boots and jeans and t-shirts, and sometimes I'll throw on a jacket, and I have loud music playing, and I bring beer to open houses sometimes. I put out postcards in the neighborhood that say free beer and open house, really small at the bottom. And people will show up and I'll give them some beer and we'll have parties. Like, For real. Be yourself, man. Have fun with it. Because if you're going to not have fun with it, you're not going to keep doing it. And then you're going to burn out and you're going to stop doing it. You're not going to see the success of it. I've done so many open houses now that it's like I know exactly what to say to somebody and how to react to every situation. It's very rare I get stumped anymore. And like I said, 1 out of every 4, I don't have a lead every 4 open houses. I have a closing from an open house every 4 houses. I've sold many homes that I'm sitting in, right? I didn't get that way by burning out. I burned out recently, but it was other things. And I had to take a little break and I came back, right? But yeah, hell yeah, throw in some football, throw in some music. Hell, I did a front yard barbecue at one open house that was badass. Like I literally had a grill, tables, chips, beers, cornhole in the driveway, loud music going. Like it was a big front yard party. And people would show up and I'd say, hey, leave your kids out here, let them eat a hot dog and throw some cornhole. You guys go in the house. You check it out, you know? Sign in, here's your sign-in sheet, go check it out. We'll be out here partying, I'll be hanging out with your kids. Shit, man, people love that. You know? They do, they love it. Because you're different. We're in an industry that's begging for different, you know what I mean? So.
Well, we have to, especially with all the iBuyers.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. You know you compete with Amazon giving you $5,000 worth of furniture if you buy a house with them now? You make people like you. It's real easy. You know, we're at this fork in the road thing going on right here where a consumer is either going to go with an agent or a computer disruptor. We can't compete with them financially. We can't offer the incentives they're offering. We can't do some of the things they're doing. But we can not be assholes and we can be likable. You know what I mean? Pardon my French. But seriously, people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. Some people are just out there to just get as much as they can. Guess what? My opinion is that the people who go this route are generally people I don't want to work with. Because they're going to be the biggest pain in the ass. They're going to expect the most out of you. They're going to challenge you on everything. They're going to ask you for a commission reduction after you put a lot of work into it, that kind of stuff. These people are just there to clean out the sewer for us a little bit and, you know, let us work with better people, I feel like. Make sense? Anyway, so people are out walking around the house, they're filling out the feedback form, they're checking it out. Now, they're going to come back to me before they leave because they have my clipboard. Now, once in a while, you're going to get some guy who's like, see you, loser, walk out. Yeah, you're going to get that once in a while. And then, again, then I'm going to pick that up and I'm going to put a big X through it because I don't want to work with that person. But most people are going to bring this back and hand it to me. And when I take it from them, I'm going to flip it over because it's two-sided. This is the most important thing you'll learn today besides the other most important thing you'll learn today that we've already learned. It's really easy. I'm going to start asking a lot of questions and I'm going to write down the answers. And I'm going to identify what their disc profile is. And I'm going to identify different, you know, traits they might have and what their situation is specifically, right? And why? Because everyone else that they met today had one of these. And they don't know this person from apple butter. But I know their sister Linda is moving here from Minneapolis in 6 months and she has 5 kids. Or I know whatever exact detail, and I know that they're an easygoing person, or they're a funny person. Okay, if someone's funny, and I circle funny, and I send them an email or a handwritten card saying, by the way, you were super funny and I like working with funny people, I was the guy who was listening to them. I'm not a realtor now. So this is how you stand out amongst the other agents, is you have a system to take specific information about the person and you follow up with them with that info. You show them you were listening. No one else was. Everyone else is sending them drip emails. Is there a more disgusting word in the English dictionary than drip, by the way? Raise your hand if you want to get dripped on. Sounds like chlamydia, doesn't it? Yeah. It's disgusting.
I had a hot yoga class and this guy was
Yeah.
like doing like a T and it like his nose and
It's probably dripping out of his shorts a little bit, like.
and I had to like take my yoga mat and go, oh no,
Yeah.
I like rolled that up and pitched it in the nearest.
That's your email campaigns right there. That's your email campaigns right there. That's how the consumers look at your drip emails. Okay? We are not here to drip on people, guys. We're here to connect with people. And this little simple, so easy it's stupid sign-in sheet, where now I've identified real things about somebody. By the way, does anyone here know what the disc profile is? Does anyone here not know what the disc profile is? Raise your hand if you do not know what the disc profile is. DISC. I'm not going to teach a disc class, but very quickly. Why is this important? Because the way you behave to this person and the way you behave to this person are very, very different. If I identify somebody as a D, and I send them market reports and a whole bunch of data and a whole bunch of shit to read, they're not going to want to work with me. If I reach out to that same D and say, hey, I remember you were looking for a house with a pool in this neighborhood, I found one, come check it out, here's the address. Straight to the point is how these people want to be communicated with. These people right here, that's the life of the party. That's the person who wants to talk and have a long conversation. These are the best people to have slide dial on your phone for, because you call them to tell them something and they're going to keep you on the phone for an hour. But these people want to go out and talk about that house over drinks. They're fun people. Okay? 68% of the world's population falls under the S category. That's just your warm, fuzzy, likable, nice people, basically. Okay? C's, I don't like working with C's. I don't get along with them. They're like engineers. Those are the people who want every little tiny piece of data you can give them. They're going to ask you 4,000 questions. I'm just not built to communicate well with a C. So if I identify someone as that, I'm probably going to refer them to someone on my team who's going to do a better job with them.
What was the S again?
S, I don't remember what this stands for steady in the analysis, but that's like your warm, fuzzy, happy, nice people. That's most people who are just like, they don't want to ruffle feathers, they're just nice, they're warm people. You know, that's a high majority. So, if I remember correctly, it's driver, influencer, steady, God, I can't remember what is it.
I'll put my disc profile, I have it like on my OneDrive.
You can go to TonyRobbins.com and you can take a disc analysis on yourself for free.
The D is dominance, I is influence,
Yeah.
green is steadiness, and blue is conscientious.
Conscientious?
Yes.
I just know I don't want to work with the conscientious thing. I know that for a fact. And I butt heads with D's because I'm a D. So my profile, I'm a 99D, 99I, which means I'm the life of the party, but don't you talk over me, you son of a bitch. Just kidding. Mike Conway told me that 99D, 99I meant asshole, is what it meant. Anyway, so now that you have a plan, now that you have the best possible data for follow-up, how do you follow up? Well, depends on what you want to do. Because remember I talked about sometimes I'm going to follow up a lot, and sometimes I'm going to send them one email, and I'm just going to experiment with that a lot. But number one, put them in your CRM. If you don't have a CRM, guys, you don't have a business. There's no other way to say it. If you don't have a CRM, you do not have a business, okay? Put them in there and strategically follow up with them, whether that be handwritten cards, whether that be BombBomb videos, whether that be email, whether that be text messages, phone calls. It doesn't matter so much how you follow up with people if you're just not following up with people. Just make that the plan, is to keep in touch with them. But I do like to send out a handwritten card after the event. That's going to be $50.
I got a kid to pick up.
The first one's free, but the second one's $50. All right,
Thank you.
No worries. Take care. So I send them one really big email in that group, that Facebook group I told you guys about. There's a sample email of what I send out. It's a long, detailed email. The first line is, thank you for coming to the open house at 123 Main Street. You were a really funny person. So whatever notes I have in the back of this, I'm going to put that in that first sentence. You and your wife.
Where's the sample email? I'm sorry.
It's in the Mega Open House Mastermind group. If you look on the first page right here, there's the URL to get to that group.
We're already in the group.
What?
So I'm an
No,
I.
I'm a veteran of that group. So if you go in there.
I'm an I. So an S, I'm an I, something like that.
Anyway, that's funny. So I'm going to send them a link to that property. I'm going to send them another link to other properties in the area. I'm going to send them a link to my listing website where I talk about how we list homes differently than everybody. I'm going to tell them how they can set up a free account in my CRM or my IDX where they can search for homes. I'm going to give them a lot of information on that email, basically. And in the first line, it's like, I'm sending you this email in hopes that I can earn your trust or provide real value to you. I'm not just trying to be a salesperson to you, right? That kind of thing. And so I send them this very long email for my first communication. And depending on the person, I might end it with that if there was someone who didn't seem like they wanted to be contacted. I'm not going to be part of the problem of real estate agents just continuously bugging people who don't want to be bugged. I'm more interested in attracting the ones who want to do business with me and focusing my efforts on that. My conversion rates go way up when I don't waste time talking to people who don't want to be talked to. So if I start, I don't reach out a million times like most people do, but I'm gonna text, email, bomb video, a few things in the very beginning, and if they don't respond, I'm just gonna remove them most of the time. But I do send a handwritten letter if I have an address. Read the book 7 Levels of Communication by Michael Mayer. He has a section in there about how to write an effective handwritten card. It's fantastic. Use the descriptive words from this in that handwritten card if you can, and that's gonna have a big bang for your buck. Again, you seem like a really easygoing and funny person. If you notice that, guess what? They've heard that their whole life. Their whole life. They've heard it forever, and it just means you were paying attention. You had a question?
You answered it. Well, you do both. You do an email and you do the letter, both.
Yes. If I have an address, I'll send them a handwritten card.
And in the email, you put those details. Just the handwritten card is just great meeting you.
It was great meeting you.
Okay.
If I ever have an opportunity to serve you, it'd be wonderful, or however you want to put it. Be yourself. You know what I mean? Again, if it's one of those, they're looking for homes for their sister Linda who's going to move from Minneapolis. I'm going to write that on the card. Hope I can help your sister Linda make the move from Minneapolis. I'd love to meet her and her 5 kids. You're the only realtor that person's ever going to meet in their life who actually paid attention to anything they said and wrote down. It's that easy. You know what I mean? Be super specific with what they were looking for, and they will just be putty in your hands. If that's what you're wanting. If you want putty in your hands. But great notes is a big deal, and there's a difference between follow-up and spamming people, right? There's a huge difference. I only have until 3:30 and it's 3:27. Hang on to this. There's a lot of stuff I haven't gone over in here. Read through it. If you have questions, reach out to me. Does anyone have questions right now, or is there anything that I didn't cover well that maybe you wish I would have covered better? Or is there anything you're kind of stuck with that maybe you need help with, or anything like that? Anything? Okay, so let's go back to real quick, since I have just a few minutes, like we were talking about having fun, right, at the open house. I want to tell a story with my friend Leela. Anyone here know Leela Woodard? No, she's Grown's Vision Realty Pros. She's been 40 under 40 like 7 years in a row. She's just an awesome person, awesome agent. She did a big open house with us recently. I guess it's been like a year now or more. But she did 50 signs. But then she advertised to the neighborhood that she was going to have catering, so they had food, but also they were going to have a magician doing magic show for kids. And the same guy did balloon animals. He did balloon animals and magic shows for kids. And they brought him in. And they did a 2-hour open house. In that 2 hours, she had 107 groups sign in to that open house who all had a very good impression of her because she was family friendly and she did something for their kids, basically. Like you do something for someone's kids, i.e. front yard barbecue, let the kids hang out here with me and play some cornhole and eat a hot dog while you go look at the house, it will love you for that. I know I would. I go somewhere someone takes good care of my kids, they're going to earn my business. Anyway, she had 107 groups. And they had 7 offers in that house that day during the open house. But she made a huge impression in that neighborhood from that open house and from the flyers she put out. And she ended up doing really well in that neighborhood, listing several homes and getting to know several people in there. So I say do lots of open houses, but go big on it, man. Do something fun. Do something that would excite you, right? Because if it's going to excite you, unless it's like, oh, we're having a sex dungeon open house. I mean, like maybe tame that down a little bit. But if it's something fun, like a magic show, or like you can hire these Kona ice trucks to show up in the driveway for a couple hours and give snow cones to everybody who shows up, or whatever. There's a million things you can do to make it a fun event. But if you do that, you're going to have a much better bang for your buck, and it's going to be something you enjoy doing. Like that sounds like the funnest job in the world, doesn't it? To just do things that you would want to attend. So that's, I guess, my final thought on this, or whatever. Like, do a lot of them. Oh, sure.
How many people last year, like a big event thing, how many people did she have helping her?
She had 2 or 3 other agents with her on her team. She's a broker owner, so she had a couple of her new agents show up to just kind of help manage. Well, no, she had 2 agents. She had the caterer and she had the magician guy, who ended up being her dad, actually.
And
Thank
what
you.
about
Take care, man.
kids in the front yard playing, age groups? Is there, and does she have anyone out there to make sure kids are okay?
Parents were in charge of the kids. I mean, the magic show was inside
Okay.
the living room, I think. But I've always wanted to have an open house pool party. I think that'd be badass. You know what I mean? That'd be so cool. Is there a liability? Yeah. Probably have to hire a lifeguard or something like that. Or I guess I'll be sober for that one, whatever.
People sign waivers.
Was this house that she had the magician, is this occupied or vacant?
I don't know actually on that. I think it was occupied though. It was like a $400,000 house in Gilbert. Nice place, with like, you know, big house. And she killed it. She killed it with that. Like the amount of business she did off that one open house, it's like an annual salary. You know what I mean? So just something to consider, man. Like the whole purpose of this class is to challenge the status quo on things. Because we're taught so many things that I think are garbage.
One thing I was gonna mention, she said when you meet people, you have a hard time remembering their names.
Yeah.
I was taught to always repeat their name.
Yeah, I'll repeat it and I'll still forget it within 1
Okay.
second.
So if I don't,
I'm just partially brain dead in some capacities, I guess.
but if I repeat their name, hey, I'm Mike, they say I'm Tom,
Yeah.
at least for about 10 minutes I can remember their names. So when you go back to give them back
Yeah.
the clipboard, hey Tom, you know, I mean, like you said, it's all about that connecting.
I just really struggle with that, man. They say, hey, I'm Tom and this is Wendy, and I hear, I'm Jong and this is Glibglab. Like, I don't even know they said.
No, it happens.
My brain shuts off as soon as they say my name is, and I go,
Say it
Sounds
without
shady.
that's what he just said. I do that. I do that. And I'm like, you know, like 10-second Tom in the Adam Sandler movie. I'm like 2-second Tom, you know? I'm dose-second Dustin. I forget totally. It's just, but, anyway, anything else, guys? Any questions? Anything else I can help you with today? Good? Okay. All right. Well, thank you for coming out. I do appreciate your time today. You betcha. And again, you can reach out to me anytime. The Facebook group is the best way because you'll get multiple answers instead of just one. Oh.
What's it called again?
You and I were instant messaging the other day. Sun City, Sun City West.
Oh,
I will attest if you do
Okay.
post it on my house, he will
Next day,
shame
I
you.
see where I'm just wanted to
Because I've seen him do it.
I'm in.
Okay, go play.
I know
I'm
me
always
too.
following.
What's the lesson to learn?
I had an agent who lives in Glendale on my team at one point, and he would do West Valley open houses. But the thing is, he just hated making that Monday drive every week to for the team huddles and that kind of stuff, and for different events we did and things. He just hated that drive, which I don't blame him. But he did a Sun City open house one time during the winter when the snowbirds were here. And the way he explained it to me was kind of amazing. He goes, I called him like a half an hour in. I'm like, how you doing? He goes, I'm just sitting on the floor in the corner, sucking my thumb basically. He goes, I ran out of flyers in 10 minutes. There's so many people in here. I can't even get sign-ins. He goes, there's like 1,000 people in the house. I'm just so stressed out. I'm just sitting in the corner. I was like, oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, well, that's what,
Now, how do you get 1,000 people there?
Well, it wasn't really 1,000, but he said it felt like 1,000.
Yeah,
But that was just signs. It was just signs. But it was Sun City, and a lot of people in Sun City don't have anything to do. I
even
guess.
this
I don't know.
time,